Hello, everyone. My name is Tara Petty, and I have been a nurse for a little over 20 years and decided to go back and get my bachelor's degree. So here I am in this class. I read the book for our book club presentation called Good Kings, Bad Kings by Susan Nussebaum. This book was very interesting to me. I didn't realize, I guess, when I started what it was going to be about exactly, but every chapter is a different character in the story, and so it's telling, their perspective on what's going on at the facility at the time, and it's told by different characters, and so I thought that was a very different way to write a book, and, it let me kind of get a variety of characters and what they were going through at the facility. So the vulnerable group identified in the book was children with disabilities, both children and adolescents and young adults. There were some kids in our book that were as young as 9 and 10, and there were some people that were as old as 22 that were in our book. And so it just talked about their mental and physical disabilities. Also, adolescents or teens that were in trouble were in the book. Some people had been recruited straight out of juvenile detention or homeless shelters, and so those were people that they talked about in the book. It also talked about people that their families or their guardians couldn't take care of them. There was one character that his mom lived on a third-story apartment, and she just physically, him and his brothers and sisters could not get him up and down the stairs, and so she sent him to the facility so he could be taken care of. And then also people that had nowhere to go. There was one girl that was homeless. She was in a homeless shelter, and the facility had a person that recruited her out of there and actually called her parents, and they gave her to the facility, gave them permission to put her in the facility. So there was a lot of different vulnerable groups that were in the book. Some health disparities that were noted: there was just a lack of even basic health care for these patients. Some of them had pressure ulcers, some of them had UTIs and even sexually transmitted diseases, and a lot of them had to wind up going to the hospital because they didn't even get basic care at the facility that could have got on some antibiotics and maybe helped it, or, before it got to the point where they had to be hospitalized. So just basic health care was something that was missing for these patients. Also, healthy nutrition. It talks several times in the book about how the food was bad. There was not any healthy choices. And these are patients that, have need protein and need things that are going to help them with their muscles and with healing of wounds and things. So they needed healthy food. Also, there was a lack of mental health resources. A lot of these patients suffered mentally as well, just from things that have happened in their life inside and outside of the facility. And there wasn't a lot of health resources. I think there was somebody on staff, but they weren't there like every day. And so they just needed people to talk to and medications that could help them, things. There was also a lack of equipment for their mobility. A lot of the people that were in the facility were in manual wheelchairs, so they had to have help getting around. Their wheelchairs were broken. They didn't have proper cushions maybe in their wheelchairs. They didn't have proper things to help them go to the restroom or take a shower. So there was just basic equipment that could have helped them that they didn't have. And also just protection. There were several times where they were not protected by the staff. The staff was mean physically, sexually, emotionally to these patients, and they just needed protection from some of these things. And so that was a health disparity that was noted. So health promotion recommendations are to just advocate for residents in the facility. Just make sure that you speak up for these people that have these health disparities, and just make sure that they have the resources that they need. Also ensure that they've got healthy food. Talk with the chef. Maybe what can we do to help get some extra protein or some extra carbohydrates so that they can have energy. Just try to help maintain a healthy diet for them, and just get them the proper equipment. What resources are available to help them get wheelchairs? Can we send these off to be maintained? Just what's available for them to be able to, have better equipment, and just help them keep up with physical therapy and occupational therapy, and as well as mental therapy, because they need all of those to thrive and to be the best that they can be as a patient. And the last is, do not define people by their diagnosis. See past what you see with your eyes, and just make sure that you see the person, the human that's underneath that disability that just wants to be treated normal. So what can new nurses learn from this book? The first thing is to just be an advocate for your patient. Like I said, see beyond the disease, see the patient, the human being that's right there. Fight for the resources that they need: therapy services, equipment, Meals on Wheels, whatever they can get that can help them. And you could be the one that keeps your patient healthy. They may not have any family, any resources that are looking after them, so you could be the one that could help set those things up for them. Also, educate the patient. Educate the patient about their disease process. What can they do to help best take care of themselves? You know, what options are available? What resources? Let them know so that they can make decisions if they want to seek out that help. Also, educate yourself. You know, what new treatments are available for this disease or this disability? What can I learn about their disease process that can help me better take care of them as a nurse and as their healthcare provider? And just educate them and you so that you can both stay on top of what is going to be best for that patient. And then the last thing is just speak up. Don't be afraid if you see something that's not right to speak up. Get with your charge nurse, get with a supervisor, get with a senior nurse that you feel comfortable with, your preceptor. Just let them know that something's not right here and I need to speak up for this patient. So what can seasoned nurses learn from this book? The first thing is just open our eyes. Sometimes we get jaded and we just see, like we've seen this patient up 50 times this year. They keep coming in our facility every 2 weeks. Just try to see the patient, open your eyes. So what can I do to better help this patient? What can I do to give them resources or educate them to let them know that, you know, how they can best take care of themselves outside of the healthcare facility. It's hard to not become jaded because we just see the same patients over and over sometimes, but try to have compassion and just be open to learning something new. Take what those new nurses are bringing in, you know, what other staff members have learned from other facilities, and try to marry that with what you know is the best practice and just kind of learn something new and say, this is how we've always done it, but that doesn't mean that that's the best way that it can be done. And so just be ready to learn something new and become a great educator for your staff. These baby nurses that are coming out here need that education from you. They need that history and that evidence-based practice that you've been practicing for, and just share that education and that knowledge with them. So surprises about the books. I was surprised by the mistreatment and abuse of the patient, just sexually, physically, mentally, emotionally. You know, the staff there, some of them were very nice, but some of them were not very kind to these patients. I was surprised how the facility got their new patients. They went into homeless shelters. They went into juvenile detention halls and got patients out of there. I was surprised with the mortalities in the book. There was at least 2 or 3 people that had passed away in other facilities that this company owned. And then there was also a character named Teddy that was left in the shower for too long, and this hot water burned his skin, and he had to go to the hospital and later passed away. And then I was also surprised that they withheld food from patients as a punishment. And that was not something that I really liked. So one information stayed with me: the resilience of these adolescents. They got up and they did it every day. They went ahead and did what they needed to do to get through the day. Also, the blatant abuse, like I talked about, of patients, you know, just how they were so mistreated by the staff that was supposed to be cared with, taking care of them. And then Teddy's death was something that I will never forget, how he was just forgotten pretty much in the hot shower and just burned. I also like the support of Jimmy, Ricky, and Joanne. These were workers at the facility that really fought and advocated for the patients that were there, and they are heroes in my book. And then the protest at the end was something that was just great, that the patients finally got enough courage to tie themselves to a tree with signs and get the news company out there and say things have to change, things need to be different. So the book affected my mood. Sometimes it made me sad when people were mistreated and there was nobody there to help them. It made me very angry at times when there was blatant abuse of the patients and just disregard for your job of just being a human being and mistreating these patients. It also made me happy at times. There were good points where people, you know, got to go out and got to do things, and, you know, there was love stories in the book, so that was good. And then there was also just lots of questions. Where are these patients' families? Where are the parents to take care of these kids? Like, are they just completely abandoned? So lingering questions are, what happened to the characters? Where did they go after the book ends? I mean, you know, are they still there? Are they at a better facility? Did Ricky and Joanna stay together? Those were 2 characters in the book that, you know, one was disabled and one was not. And so I just wonder what happened to their story. And I wonder, did Teddy's family ever take action against the facility for what happened to him and his mistreatment in the shower. And also just what happened to me in her situation. She was put into a mental facility, and I just want to know, did she ever get out? What happened? You know, was there something that could have been done to help her better than what was done? So this is my reference page, and I appreciate you guys for listening to my story. Thank you.